I'm kind of in a really weird spot right now for literally so many reasons. I'm currently trying to hide in the little corner of our front stoop. So to go to the backyard, our neighbors have, I think, a running contender for the world's largest backup generator. Inside the house, it's pitch black. I will insert a clip of me waving at the camera like this from about this far away. A better spot in the front yard, but then there were these boomers that were standing in their front yard and staring and pointing at me and talking to each other, and it really freaked me out. Anyway, why, Fair Susan, are we sitting in the corner of your front stoop, hiding? Why is the power out? Well, the power's out, and so, in fact, is the internet, which is why every person on the face of the planet is outside right now. At about 3:30, there was a tornado. Yes. And now, I think, according to ComEd, 700,000 people in the Chicago area don't have power. So, what did people do without power and internet? They read. What am I gonna do? Read! I've done a little bit of reading today since the beginning. I have The Raven and the Dove by Caitlin Davis on my Kindle. I think 82% of the way through that right now. So I think I should be able to finish it tonight. One of the good things though about it being so dark in the house is that when I went to the kitchen and grabbed a box of Rice Krispies to bring outside, my parents couldn't see what I was carrying because it was so dark, so they didn't ask me any weird questions. So this reading thing will last until the power comes back on, which honestly could be a couple days. So, I'm gonna be underlit. I don't know what to do with this. I think that's pretty good, right? Right as I finished The Raven and the Dove, actually the power came back on and I was overjoyed. I was like, wow, this whole idea, thankfully, very short-lived. Then the power flickered on and off for a little bit, and I was like, it's readjusting, you know, give it some time. It stayed off. Still do not have internet, by the way. Oh, that's pardoning. My dad says he has it, and he's been on the internet. I, however, do not. Maybe if I connect and reconnect. No. Oh! Ooh. Ooh, I do. Yes. We're not fully in the dark ages. Why I'm using my phone's battery to update Goodreads, I don't know. It's unhealthy. I think I use Goodreads like other people use Facebook and Twitter. So this book is fantasy. It takes place in a world made up of different kingdoms, and in each kingdom each person is a different kind of bird person. Think angel type bird person. And every year they do this mating ceremony where they send all their princes and princesses and they kind of match up, if that makes sense. So this book is following the Dove Princess, and right before the meeting ceremony she meets the Raven Prince because as they're coming in they're attacked by dragons. And having magic is forbidden here, but they both do, and they kind of bond over that. So even though she's technically way out of his league, she decides because they've had this shared experience and they both have magic, she wants to marry him. But what she doesn't know is that this is not the Raven Prince, it's his brother. Because the real Raven Prince is disabled, and they didn't think they would be able to get a mate for their kingdom if the other kingdoms knew about his disability. So they sent in a fake prince instead, which is who she fell in love with, and not who she's going to be marrying if she picks him as her mate. So that's the general idea of this book. There's so much more going on besides that. There's literally so much going on in this book. There's like a subplot of a whole other world, which I like in books. I like when there's a lot of things going on because it keeps my attention better. Honestly, this one was a little slow because it's building up, and it's very obvious what it's doing. It's building up to something much larger that happens at the end. So I finally got to like the climax of the book, which is in this case at the very end. A lot happened. It was so good. Once you get to the end, shit hits the fan. Oh my god. It was 10 times worse than I'd imagined because reading the book, because you get a lot of hints as you're reading it about what's gonna happen and what's going on. Something with a prophecy involving the Dove Prince and this below world. And so it happened. It was a lot. The second one I think comes out late September, so I might pre-order it on the Kindle store or something. I did give it 4 stars though, because the beginning was a little bit slow, and also it kind of relied on insta-love a little bit. And then I was young. It's only 10 p.m. By Orange Lamplight, I will probably read Persepolis, which is an autobiographical memoir about a young girl's kind of experience growing up during the Iranian Revolution. And it's really interesting because her family was very politically involved, which is what you find out later in the book. So I think I'm going to get through this one. I should be able to get through it pretty fast because it's a graphic novel and I have nothing else to do. Yeah. I forgot where the record button is on the camera. I was pressing the wrong button and wondering why I wasn't recording. At 11, our robot vacuum turned on, which was a little bit surprising because we don't have power, but if it wants to vacuum the house that bad, I guess it can. I also went downstairs and blindly grabbed chocolate chips and water. So that's fun. But anyway, I finished Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. I finished the first volume, Persepolis 1. Still have to read 2. I give it 4 stars. This book is so powerful. And Marjane Satrapi is just amazing at like perfectly capturing the emotion of these dramatic and powerful moments of her life and then sharing those emotions and conveying them to the reader. And it's just, there are so many like perfect, powerful moments in this book, and it's honestly, I think I would definitely recommend it to everyone. The reason I took off 1 star was mostly because the story is basically told in vignettes, and I almost wish it were told more of a narrative style, so kind of with more of a flow in between the little stories she shares. The other reason, as a younger person who was not alive during this, and as an American, every once in a while she would reference some political aspect of the war that was going on then, and I just didn't understand, and I was a little bit lost when it came to who was in charge and what they were like at the time. I was not up to scratch on my Iranian historical, political history. Otherwise though, I highly recommend, I think everyone should read this. It's so powerful, So amazing. The art, I feel like, is very fitting to the story. If you're gonna read this book in the dark, the font may be a little small, but I don't think that'll be a problem for most people. Before I move on to Persepolis 2, which I feel like I'll probably get to tonight, I want to read the 30-page section I marked for myself as a Scarlet Letter. I was not a fan of the Custom House, but I understand it's like for framing of the story and that kind of thing. Like past, present, future. So, hopefully, I like the actual story of Hester, the one that's advertised on the back, more than I like this. The Custom House, because the Custom House was not fun to trudge through. So, I am going to leave with that and see what happens. So it is 7:46 a.m. I woke up at 7 a.m. I think the last time that I woke up this early was like 6 months ago. I think actually the last time that I was awake at 7 a.m. it was because I hadn't gone to sleep yet. So here we are. Last night I really just was not in the mood to read the Scarlet Letter, so I didn't. I kept going with Persepolis. I got maybe a half of the way through. I'm not enjoying Persepolis 2 quite as much as Persepolis 1. It might be spoilers, and I don't think so, it's a memoir. But at the end of Persepolis 1, her parents sent her away to Austria. So, I guess the main plot, problem, however you want to view it, of Persepolis 2, for the first half at least, is that she is a Middle Eastern woman living in Europe, in the Western world. Which, it's just not as dramatic, you know what I mean? It also deals a little bit more with coming of age and puberty, because she goes through that. I think I should be able to bang out the last 83 pages or so pretty easily in the next maybe like 20-30 minutes. So I'm gonna do that now. Okay. So I finished Persepolis 2. The internet went back out for a little bit, so I don't want to update Goodreads, but I did, because apparently that's where my priorities lie at this point. I gave Persepolis 2 only 3 stars. It was just not as good as the first one. The second one deals more with kind of being away from home for the first time, being a person of color in the Western world, coming of age, a little bit with the kind of rules and laws put in place by the tyrannical regime. There just weren't any of those like really powerful emotional moments in this one that there were in Persepolis 1. It still had some great themes. I think one of the really interesting things I learned is that I didn't know. At one point, her mom talks about how Iranians were treated so well before this war broke out. And kind of, it talked about how the world's view of the Middle East, the Western world's view of the Middle East has changed since the start of the Middle East conflict. It was still good. It just wasn't quite as powerful as the first one. If you really liked Persepolis 1, I would move on to Persepolis 2. But if you weren't a massive fan of Persepolis 2. Of Persepolis 1. I don't necessarily think you need to read Persepolis 2. I don't think it's necessarily a need to read like Persepolis 1 was. But one other thing, this is just a small gripe, but the way, I'll insert a picture, she draws people with light eyes, it's just really weird. I don't like it at all. It's a, yeah. Maybe, yeah, it was a little weird. But I want to read The Marvels by Brian Selznick. I actually don't know a major plot point of this book. Also, up until this red bookmark, it's all pictures like this. So, no reading involved. Houston, we have a problem. I am currently this far into the Marvels, which I'm on like page like 420 or something. Basically that means I have looked at all of the pictures and read like 20 pages. So I have a spurt of very slow internet, and I looked at the outage map for where I live, and it said they're not gonna fix what was, I guess, the second outage until maybe like 3 p.m. August 15th is when they're thinking. It's currently August 11th, and it went out August 10th. This little no electricity, no internet reading sprint, I think if I keep it going until then, will have lasted entirely too long, in my opinion. I think that's a lot. I'll probably, well, how many books would I get through if literally my only thing to do all day was read and drive around to charge my phone? Too many. Anyway, back to the Marvels. It's getting hot in the house. I'm very sad. Okay, I finished The Marvels by Brian Selznick. I'm gonna give a synopsis because the one I gave earlier, it was not good. So, the first story that you read is the one that's in pictures. It's about kind of this acting family in Victorian England, and it follows them through several generations. Then you reach the text portion of the story, which is about 200 pages. And that takes place in 1990. And it's about this boy who does not fit in at school or with his family, so he runs away to meet this uncle. And when he meets the uncle, he lives in this really, really weird, historic house, and he's not friendly at all. And there are all these weird rules he has to follow. Just basically trying to solve the mystery, and then throughout the book you're trying to figure out the connection between the original story you saw at the beginning and the new one. This book, it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. The pace and everything is a little bit slow, especially for middle grade, but I thought the concept was really cool. It also, I had a lot of it touched on a lot of serious topics that I feel like is good for children to be exposed to, if that makes sense. Why is my phone... Oh! Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris to be his running mate. I was wondering about that. I thought he announced it last night, but obviously we didn't hear about that here. It surprised me, and it touched on one or two like very serious topics, because this is middle grade, so it definitely didn't get into it at all. I kind of wish that it had been touched on like a little bit more, because I'm not sure a child would pick up on it. It touches on HIV and LGBTQ+. I think we're gonna do The Widow of Pill Harbor by Hester Fox. I really liked her debut novel. And also I've been in a historical fiction mood because I have no electricity and I don't want to read about other people having electricity when I don't. This book is kind of this really cool intersectional drama. She does like historical fiction but fabulism, and then kind of there's like a thriller aspect too, because there's usually a mystery that's trying to be solved throughout. So this book is about a widower. This book is about a widower who moves to the country, into like a small town in the country, after his wife dies to kind of escape the city. So while he's there, he hears about all of these rumors and this crazy stuff that's kind of happening within the town. And everyone thinks that all of this weird stuff that's happening within the town is related to the widow that lives in this big house on the hill that he's befriended. It'll be fun to get into this one. That was an uncommittal clap, but I'm also drinking Diet Coke for breakfast. I also had a donut. I am the picture of health. I'm on page 123 of The Widow of Pill Harbor by Hester Fox. Things are picking up. I'm interested. I really am. We find out like more about the characters. We have Sophronia and Gabriel. And Gabriel comes into town as like a minister, but he's not religious at all. He's really only doing it out of guilt to his dead wife, who was like a major transcendentalist. And then Sophronia is in her castle. Everyone hates her. They accuse her of like literally everything that could possibly happen and go wrong. But she also seems to be dealing with some trauma that happened when her husband died. And everyone thinks she did it. And honestly, I'm not sure if she did it or not. And there's kind of an Edgar Allan Poe thing happening in this book. And I have not read Edgar Allan Poe, so I hopefully I'm like not missing anything. I don't think I am though. She's doing a really good job of like explaining it, because each of the stories that's alluded to is like, they like gives a quick rehash, like 1 or 2 sentences of the plot. The other thing I want to talk about, I got a package at like 7:30 p.m. yesterday, but I got my copy of Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. This was my favorite book of 2020. I read it just after the reading rush ended. What can I say? It was my favorite book of 2020. It's like amazing satire about like white progressive racism. And I just love it. It's so great. I love satire, and this is great satire. It's fabulous. It's getting, if it weren't my favorite book, I would call mixed reviews, in the sense of, not mixed, they're not mixed, they're just lukewarm. But I love this book. It's so good. It's literary fiction because it's satire, and it has some complex themes and stuff going on. But what I like about it is it's written with kind of like a YA writing style, so it's really approachable and easy to read. And then even if you're not reading it for the satire, there's like a fairly decent like actual plot going on within it that has like twists and turns and that kind of thing. So it's just got so much going on. You have a good plot, oh my god, satire. And then it's just easy to read. It's not like highbrow writing style, which is good because a lot of books don't need that, but they have that. And so I'm reading The Scarlet Letter right now. This is much better than that. I'm going hiking, and I'm leaving at 10 because I want to get there before it gets too hot. Anyway, yeah, I have to get ready in the dark. I took a shower last night in the dark. It wasn't that bad. I brought a lantern in with me. It was doable. Anyway, that's my life. You might notice something. Maybe this clip is a little brighter than the last one. The power came back on kind of late-ish yesterday. I'm updating you the day after. A, because I was just kind of enjoying having electricity and the internet. B, all of yesterday afternoon, me and my friends, there were 3 of us, we went on an over 10-mile hike. Regrets. So I was really tired. I am not a hiker. I didn't think it would be that bad. We were like, we're young. We're in shape, kind of. How bad could it be? It was bad. It was bad. I live to tell the tale, if only barely, but I'm here to give you a final update on my reading. I didn't get to finish The Widow of Pale Harbor. I did get like 60% of the way through it. I'm on page 202. So, what I've been thinking about now, relating to this book, around page 75, I had a thought. I was reading it and I was like, this seems like it could be pointing in a certain direction that would be very similar final ending plot twist wise to The Witch of Willow Hall, Hester Fox's first book. And the farther and farther I get, the more and more it seems like it's gonna be a slightly rehashed, changed version of the first twist from The Witch of Willow Hall. And it's a little bit worrying because it's gonna be a little disappointing if it's the same twist in her second book as it was in the first one. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see something different. I don't want to see the same thriller with a different setting. Hopefully that's not what's happening. It really seems like it is, 60% of the way through. I feel like we're getting a red herring right now. A pretty good, interesting red herring, but a red herring. And then at the end, it's going to be what I think is going to happen. Because they have not yet acknowledged it, and from my perspective, it's very obvious. I don't know. It's kind of maybe slightly worse than The Witch of Willow Hall, just a little bit disappointing. It'll be much worse if the same twist is in the book. But anyway, I think I'm going to try and edit this video and post it later today. It's the 13th, so if this isn't posted on the 13th, I've just exposed myself. It's fine. Yeah. I'm gonna go, I don't know, do nothing.